Hello and welcome to our podcast called Healing Our Community with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean.
And welcome to this episode. This is episode number 4 called The Motivation Myth and How to Get Moving When You Don't Want to. So obviously by the title, you could tell that we're talking about motivation today. And, to kind of kick off this question of motivation, I would just want to ask you a question. What is one thing that you've been waiting for motivation to start? What is one thing that you just kind of, wanting to do, but you're waiting for that motivation to kick in? This topic came about because you were talking about how, you've been seeing clients and they have been feeling unmotivated and not wanting to act.
So if you think about when you're a kid and until you're an adult, something external to you is setting goals for you. You have to go to school, you have to pass this class, you have to pass this grade, you have to pick a college, you have to go through all that. Then you have to get a job, and then you get a house, and maybe get a partner, and maybe have kids. But I'm talking about now what?
Yeah.
When the world is not, you don't need anything for your survival anymore. So what are you going to do?
You have all those things,
right?
And you're going to your job and you're coming home and you're eating
and your
dinner.
Kids are, and many people are very drained. And, one of the things that I think is impacting this in a really big way is our lack of community and our use of technology. So technology, what it does is it prevents you from becoming bored. And boredom creates that opportunity to figure something out. And so, when I was turning 50, 10 years ago.
I wasn't going to say that.
I decided to hike 1,000 miles. And that decision didn't come from, I had to, nothing was going to happen if I never did it, but I just felt the calling to do that. And it shaped a whole year of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And we hiked in 3 countries.
Actually, it shaped multiple years
states.
after that.
Actually, it's why we're here in Colorado.
It exactly was one of the motivators for coming here to Colorado. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, mostly these are things that are driven from within that you would want to accomplish. And when you do that, you are asking yourself to go through something painful. Life and health have a pattern. Death and disease do not. And death and disease is like something falling apart. So if you want to sit around and not do anything, then you're just kind of falling apart. But if you want to get up and do something, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt to start working out. It's going to hurt to shift your money habits. It's going to hurt to shift your eating habits. So there's pain involved with that. But what's on the other side is truly living.
There's actually a biological factor here or element here, and that's called conservation mode. Mm-hmm. And, if there's no goal, if you're not moving towards something or creating something in your life, your brain actually goes into this conservation mode, and it starts to save energy. And it saves energy by doing nothing. And that doing nothing and that conservation mode, it feels like depression. It can feel like being stuck in a hole. And when you're stuck in that hole, you don't want to get out. There's no desire or energy to get up and get out of that hole. It sucks you in there, and it's contagious, and it keeps you stuck in there.
If you think about a spiral and you're spiraling in that direction, you have a momentum, and that momentum keeps you there, and it keeps you stuck, and it keeps you stuck, and it keeps you stuck. And to stop that momentum, to put the brakes on and to start turning it the other way, because you probably have all done it where you did it, and then you felt the momentum in the other direction, and you feel that the proudness of it and the accomplishment, and you find out what you're actually made of when you push yourself to do those things. But now you don't have anything outside of you to push you. And so it's apathy. Even like apathy is just not really even caring. I think depression is more painful. than apathy.
Well, you feel something.
Yeah.
Right. Apathy is just, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just like not even
And
here.
what's the use?
Yeah.
What's the point? And that contagion that you're talking about is, if you were in a community and you were part of something, you would shift out of that. But most of us are pretty isolated. We're pretty much in our homes with our families, doing our thing. Other people are doing their thing. But it's, when you come together as a community, if you volunteer, if you belong to a church, if you do something, someone's probably going to ask you to help with something.
You're talking about this isolation, and we've
Mhm.
talked about isolation in I don't remember episode 2, or we've talked about it in the last few episodes, but that isolation in rural communities or slower paced environments, that it if you don't create that momentum, the environment isn't going to create it for you.
No.
Right.
Even if you're inspired. So you can be inspired. So if you go to our Couple Synergy YouTube channel, you can watch our hike. I think it's pretty inspirational, but it'll make you think different for a little bit. And then you'll have to bump into the pain of change and let go.
I think we should talk about the human need to create. And so if we're talking about motivation, right, this energy to get moving, which is a byproduct, that human need to create is innate in us. And if we don't do it, we lose our why. We lose the reason for getting up and going about our day. So it's that, we could go about our day, do everything we usually do over and over again, do our routine, but it doesn't facilitate creation, right?
And why do we create?
We create because that's what we do. That's what human beings do.
We create to reflect back to ourselves who we are. And it's a way of finding out who we are. And that's why there's no real reason to do it. It's not going to change your survival. But if you're not creating, then you can't examine yourself or your life or become.
Yeah.
I always think about Maslow's hierarchy of need. So like at the bottom is the food, clothing, shelter, and then.
So those of you who are not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a triangle, and there are different tiers to that triangle. And at the very base, it's food, shelter, clothing. It's like all we need to survive.
And what comes next?
And I was just going to say at the top end is human potential. It's like, this connection to everything and everyone.
But my point was that after the food, clothing, shelter, and safety, you want to seek connection. But after you seek connection, there actually is a gap in the triangle. It's like this invisible thing you got to get through to get to that self-actualization, that human potential. And it's a solo journey. And I was just talking to someone about this today, why married couples are fatter than single people. Because it's so easy to convince someone to not do it, right?
Yeah.
And, I think when you're a single person, you don't have as much distraction or obligation or someone to spend time with, so you get bored, so you go to the gym. So I think the same thing is true with this potential or this motivation. If Ray and I are both have the same goal, we're going to probably do it. If one of us has the goal.
Oh yeah. No, this is good. And we could start and by the way, you guys can ask questions out there. Okay. This is live, so we'll see any comments or questions you guys put on our YouTube channel or Facebook page, but you can jump in on this topic. But that really comes into play when I want to exercise, right? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna commit to exercising like 3 times a week. And then if you're not doing it and you're not committed to that goal, I'm like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
Like, why should I go? I mean, you're sitting there watching TV. I want to watch TV too. Why would I get up and leave you to go work out? And so the same thing with like eating healthy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, if you're going to go and get fast food, why I could get some too.
Well, and with eating healthy, that's an interesting thing, because if you plan your day and you decide what you're going to eat, you're going to make better choices than if you wait until, oh, I've worked all day, I'm tired, I don't feel like cooking, we have to still go grocery shopping. Let's go to Pat's or wherever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and then you're making bad choices with your eating.
Yeah.
So having a plan is really important. Setting a goal and having a plan. So when I decided to hike the 1,000 miles, I had to be on a trail. It wasn't just like how many steps did I get that day. I had to be on a trail, and that's all that counted. I don't know how many of them you hiked with me.
Yeah, of those extra miles
of the 1,000.
Of the 1,000. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe you did 600.
Yeah.
So I had another 400 that I did by myself, and it was kind of crazy towards the end. So between September and November, when I finished, I still had 400 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, if I don't get 8 miles every day, I'm not going to reach my goal. If I don't, and then some days I would get more. But it's like that really kept this momentum going for me, that I was so motivated to do it and finish the hike in New Orleans on my 50th birthday.
Nowlands.
Well,
we are planning on hiking, if we get the permits, hiking the John Muir Trail again this year. And so that's kind of given us motivation and a goal to reach for. And so when you do have a goal and you have something that is motivating you, now you put into place structure.
Right.
And structure is absolutely necessary. That is what builds or creates a ladder, right, for you to achieve your goal. But it's the structure that then helps your brain be at its optimal level. Right. And your neurons rewire and everything to support the goal and also to support the structure.
There's a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and he goes on the spiritual path, but he's working with these gurus that are in the mountains. And what they do is they publicly state their goal. I am going to accomplish this thing. And then if they don't, they have to go to the snow melt waterfall and stand underneath it. And I think about that, like that could be motivating to not have to go do that.
All of you out here know how cold that water is, right?
So you could have that as one of your things, that if you don't do what you accomplish, then you're going to go stand under the waterfall. So I think that's an interesting component to it, because we all have that thing inside of us that wants to accomplish something and wants to do nothing all the time.
Yeah. I think we should talk about the difference between structure and discipline.
Okay.
What do you think?
Go for it.
No. No, because you talk about discipline all the time, right? And you talk about that with your clients. And, I don't know if I see a difference between structure and discipline. I think maybe discipline is more of a specific type of structure.
Well, I would say discipline is your commitment to accomplishing your thing, and structure is how you go about doing it. So, and it doesn't, I don't think it matters how you go about doing it, right? So if you say, I'm going to jump up and down every day at 3 o'clock 3 times, and you do it, you're going to do it. Some days you'll feel like it. Some days you won't feel like it. Some days you'll love it. Some days you'll hate it. And it won't matter, because you're going to do it anyway. And that overcoming what we feel and doing it anyway is the discipline. The structure is jumping up and down at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, we just finished the 40-day practice, which you guys have probably heard us say before. And that's the structure, right? The 40-day practice is a specific structure that people commit to.
And we do it once a year in the beginning of the year, and it's for 40 days, and you kind of commit and create a structure for yourself and a discipline for yourself to achieve certain goals, personal goals.
And I've done a 40-day by myself, and I'm much more successful if I'm accountable to a group. I don't know about you, maybe that's the same thing.
Or much more successful if I'm doing it too.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Because then as partners, we're able to encourage each other, even if it's just by observation, right? The seeing that you're sticking to it and I'm sticking to it. You were talking about jumping up and down. I have to, it just came to my mind. We have to say hello to our granddaughter, Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley. The last time we did this podcast, we did not say hi to her, and she was very upset with us. So we have to say hi.
Hi, sweet girl.
She's in DC. So, yeah, so discipline and structure and 40 days. I mean, these things are, I see them as resets, right? Life can totally overwhelm us, and it can overwhelm us very quickly, where we just get bombarded by everything and all the things that we have to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when we have all that stuff in our head, it could be so overwhelming to the point that we become paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you become paralyzed, you don't have the motivation to do anything. Now that's where, people say, oh, I procrastinate. Really, no, it's just kind of conservation mode is what I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do a reset, like committing for 40 days to something, or committing to creating in your life, then what that does is it hits that reset button. It helps you clear the deck so that you can start working towards creating in your life. And that's where that motivation comes in.
It also activates the concept of the crabs in the bucket, right? So if you want to do something and you tell people, hey, I'm going to walk 1,000 miles. I can't tell you how many people try to talk me out of it. So many people, like, why do you have to do that? Maybe you should do something smaller, or you should do this. But there is that thing that other people get uncomfortable when you strive for something, and they want to kind of pull you back in. And so I think that is one of the reasons why, if your partner doesn't want to do something, because you have to take time, energy, and resources away from the relationship to accomplish your goals if they're not joining you with it. But I think it's still better for the relationship if you put those time, energy, and resources into your personal goals, because I think it makes you a better human. It makes you a better partner. It makes you a better parent, everything. Even though there is an initial sacrifice for the other person in the relationship that they might not have chosen.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not, obviously, like, what we're talking about here, they're not going to be happy with the change.
Right.
That's going to happen. Right. Just like your body's not going to be happy with the change. Your mind, your emotions, everything is not going to be happy with the change. Just because you have the motivation to do something and start creating in your life and start moving the ticker, initially there's going to be resistance.
Well, one of the goals a lot of people in Colorado have, or people who visit Colorado, is to hike a 14er.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you've ever done it, it's quite painful. It's not just a skip in the woods.
It sucks.
But why do people keep doing it?
For the sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, once you accomplish it and you see that beauty, and you know that you could never see that unless you went up there and did it.
Our neighbor is a hunter, and he says, why would I go up there? There's no elk up there. There's his motivation, right?
Not to do it.
Well, his motivation in hiking and going out into the wilderness is, part of hunting. But
keep in mind, it's not supposed to feel good during.
No,
it doesn't.
No, I don't. God, I don't know anyone. I don't think I would want to know anyone who enjoys that effort of hiking. I think it's the after effect, that you really strive for. It's I am putting a goal in front of myself. It's really going to be a huge challenge for me, and I'm going to put my energy towards accomplishing.
And when you push yourself to your emotional limit like that, and you do it anyway, wow. I think that is truly being alive. And if we're doing anything for our mental health, I think it's one of the greatest things we can do.
So what can they do, right? What can we do when you don't feel motivated and you got to get yourself moving? You got to hit that reset button, as what we're talking about here.
I knew someone once that was struggling a lot, and she said, I really just thought about what can I do right now. And she said, I could make a cup of tea. And that was her best in that moment. And she got up and she made herself a cup of tea. And that was like the beginning of her moving again.
Yeah.
And so I think that thing is really important. What can you do right now?
It really reminds me of the 4 Agreements. And if anyone has read that book or hasn't read that book, pick it up. It's a really easy read. But the 4th agreement is always do your best. And it's always do your best in the moment. So, for her in the moment, her best was to get up and put on a pot of water and make a cup of tea. And that's okay. right? Because the next day her best might be different.
Well, I'll tell you this, when we first started hiking that 1,000-mile hike, we hiked 1 mile and it hurt.
Yeah.
And we were not the people that could
flat land
hike the 10 miles a day that we ended up doing.
Right.
We became that person. And so you can't run a marathon today, but you could get there. Right?
Yeah.
So I think you need both. You need the what can I do in this moment and the vision of where you're headed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So here's a challenge for all of you out there. Create something this week. Just create it could be anything. Paint something, draw something, write something.
Jump up and down 3 times every day at 3 o'clock.
Go make a snowman on the mesa. There's enough snow up there right now. But yeah, create something. Challenge yourself to create, because that is really, that is what is going to motivate you to keep moving. Just for all you sake out there, we're still trying to figure out a tagline at the end. So we could use some suggestions from you. But in the meantime, thank you very much for joining us on our podcast today. We are going to be joining you every Wednesday at 12:15 on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Like and subscribe so that you can make sure that you don't miss any of the episodes that we have going on. Until next time, stay healthy out there.